Unfiltered, a stunning show of presidential power. Donald Trump frees George Santos, the convicted fraudster who spent just 84 days in prison. Then a groundbreaking study from Harvard and Mass General could redefine obesity, with 7 in 10 Americans now qualifying under the new guidelines. Sam Altman announces plans to introduce Erotic ChatGPT, raising big questions about technology, temptation, and the future of human intimacy. Next, Salesforce CEO Marc Benioff apologizes after calling on Trump to send troops into San Francisco, igniting a feud inside Silicon Valley's billionaire class. And Senate Republicans spark outrage with an AI-generated deepfake of Democratic leader Senator Chuck Schumer, showing just how easily truth can now be manufactured. All that and more on this Saturday edition of Filtered.
Welcome to Filtered with TJ Walker.
Hi, and welcome. We are live. It is Saturday morning. It is October 18th, 2025. Let's check in on market vitals as we do every day here before we dive into the top stories. The S&P 500 closed yesterday at 6,684.01. That's up 0.53%. The NASDAQ Composite closed at 22,679.98. That's up 0.52%. Keep in mind long-term, over the 25-year period, S&P 500 goes up 7.47% per year on average. Doesn't mean it goes up that every year, but on average, that's what it goes up. The NASDAQ 100 goes up 9.73% per year on average. Remember, please think long term. Let's dive right into issue 1 today. Trump frees fraudster George Santos. According to the New York Times, George Santos, the disgraced ex-congressman from New York, is out of prison tonight, thanks to a commutation from President Trump. Santos served less than 3 months of a 7-year sentence for wire fraud, identity theft, and unemployment fraud. He had pled guilty to stealing donor money, using credit cards without consent, and spending campaign cash on Botox, designer clothes, and even OnlyFans. Trump called the sentence excessive and said Santos was horribly mistreated in solitary confinement. The commutation cancels his remaining prison time and the $370,000 he owed victims. That's right. He doesn't have to pay back the victims. Republicans on Long Island are furious, saying Santos stole millions and defrauded an election. But Trump praised him for being 100% for Trump. So a man expelled from Congress for lies and theft now walks free, rewarded not for honesty or public service, but for loyalty. Now, the convictions still stand, only the punishment disappeared. Okay, what's the real message here? The message is coming through loud and clear. To paraphrase Gordon Gekko from Wall Street, fraud is good. For lack of a better word, fraud is good according to Trump. As long as you say, I love Trump, you can steal, lie, grab elections that aren't yours, take money from anyone else. It all doesn't matter. You get out of jail card free if you just say, I love Trump. This means the end of the rule of law in America. So let's dig a little deeper here. This is troubling at many levels. And at some point, you had to figure Trump knew it was troubling. Why else would this come out Friday night? That's generally when you're trying to bury news. This is disturbing at many levels. Now, as a personal note, I used to live in the district where George Santos was elected. I wasn't there when the election happened, but I know people who did. And the people who voted for him were essentially defrauded, but also shame on them too, because they didn't bother to learn anything about this guy. The local media didn't cover him for the most part. One tiny weekly newspaper did that nobody reads. And people just said, oh, he's a Republican. My team, my tribe, they voted for him, even though the guy sent all sorts of signals of being incredibly shady. Let's look at some of the facts now. This wire fraud. This is not just a guy who exaggerated, because there is a popular perception out there that, well, George Santos told some lies, but all politicians tell lies. No, this is in a league of its own, and it is criminality. He was convicted and sentenced to 7 years in prison. He stole donor credit cards and used $11,000 for personal expenses. He misused campaign funds for Botox. He lied about being a part of a Holocaust survival family. I mean, is there really nothing sacred? He lied about where he was on 9/11, what college he went to, his Wall Street career. He owed $370,000 in restitution. Doesn't have to pay that anymore. And most important, he really defrauded the voters of not just his district in Long Island, but of America. And at a time when so many of our decisions are often decided by one vote, indeed, control of the House may even come down to one vote very soon. Every vote matters. Every member of Congress matters. So we want our elections to have some integrity. And all the scams he pulled, I could spend an hour a day for the next 10 weeks just detailing this guy's scams. But he is, by all accounts, a fraudster, a felonious fraudster. I guess it's only fitting that he's now been released from prison by another felonious fraudster. Make no mistake about it, Donald Trump is sending a clear message. Fraud is good. Criminality is good if you're on my team. If you're not on my team, you can be doing your job as Comey does, as Letitia James does. You can be doing your job and be an honest person. You're going to go to jail. But if you're caught outright stealing, thieving, stealing elections, committing all sorts of financial fraud, ripping off people, that's okay, as long as you're on my team. Now, let's not forget, he was expelled from Congress after an ethics committee found financial abuse. This was a bipartisan committee. So this is not one of these typical, well, Democrats say this and Republicans say that. No, this is something where every single person in the world who actually looked at this guy's track record and what he did concluded this guy's a criminal fraudster. This is in no way like a politician who said, I'm a good family man, and they had an affair once 5 years ago. This is not a stretch. This is not looking at things through rose-colored glasses. This is absolute fraud, absolute financial fraud as well, and electoral fraud. And now it's being rewarded. Now, part of me thinks, well, Trump's doing this just because he knows it will outrage centrists like me and moderates and right-of-center Republicans, as well as left-of-center Democrats, progressives. He knows it will outrage anyone who believes in the rule of law. Therefore, we're less likely to talk about Epstein and Epstein files. Well, maybe, maybe not, because that issue is coming up later today. All right, more in a moment after these commercial words.
Filtered is brought to you by the following.
Get the deeper takes I don't post anywhere else. Subscribe now at substack.com/@TJWalkerSuccess and stay in the loop. For years, people have asked how they could get one-on-one coaching from me inexpensively. Well, now you can, anytime, anywhere with the TJ Walker AI clone. It's like having me in your pocket, ready to help you prep for a speech, polish a pitch, or calm your nerves before a big meeting. You talk to it, it responds like I would, based on my real-world coaching of thousands of leaders and communicators. Check it out at tjwalker.ai. It's not just smart, it's personal. Welcome back to Filtered with TJ Walker. Issue 2, Redefining Obesity. Get this, 7 in 10 Americans now qualify, According to JAMA, the JMA Network Open, a sweeping new study led by Dr. Lindsay Foreman of Massachusetts General Hospital finds that adding waist size to the traditional BMI could classify nearly 70% of US adults as obese. That's up from 43% under the old system. The research analyzed data from more than 300,000 Americans and found that 1 in 4 people with normal BMI actually carried dangerous belly fat linked to higher risk of diabetes, heart disease, and early death. The shift comes as roughly 74% of American adults are already overweight or obese, according to the CDC. Here's the problem. Obesity increased risk for at least a dozen major conditions, including stroke, cancer, arthritis, infertility, and dementia, and can shorten lifespan expectancy by 6 to 14 years. Researchers say the new definition could transform treatment eligibility and insurance coverage, expanding the medical system's view of what unhealthy weight truly looks like. Okay, what's the real message here? We already knew Americans were overweight and a huge percentage of us were obese. But now it looks like the vast majority of Americans are technically obese. Why does that matter? It's not about trying to be a Victoria's Secret's fashion model. It's not about looks. It's about avoiding death from cancer, stroke, heart attack. Wake up, folks. We've got to exercise more, move more, and stop putting so much processed food and sugar and fat and junk food into our mouths all day long. Let's dig a little deeper here. It's Saturday morning when I'm doing this. And normally I would be playing pickleball this time because I do like to maintain my own health and my own weight at a healthy level. I hope you do as well. If you are watching this Saturday morning or anytime, I beg you, I plead with you, spend some time to get up. If nothing else, walk more. Find a sport you enjoy. Let's eat real food. And it's harder and harder. I was just out with my wife and my family last night and the night before at 2 what you would call fairly nice restaurants. And so many of the dishes were not only fried, but covered with all sorts of sugary sauces. Now, I usually ask, and I'm pretty stringent about no fried food, leave all the sauce on the side. But I was in a hurry. I didn't pay attention. And that before you know it, you've got all those extra calories and calories that do not help you. When there's sugar and processed sugar added into gloppy sauce, that is a prescription for going from normal weight to overweight to obese. And as it turns out now, a lot of us were fooling ourselves. We said, well, I'm just a few pounds overweight. Well, there are new measurements now. I believe their measurement is saying if you have more than a 40-inch waist as a man, you're not overweight, you're obese. If you have more than a 35-inch waist as a woman, you're not overweight, you're obese. Again, this is not about trying to look good or appeal to male fashion editors' sensibility. That's not what it's about. It's about life and death. Literally, average lifespan goes down 6 to 14 years. So instead of living to the ripe old age of 83, you die at 69. Those could be years that you really spend enjoying time with children, grandchildren, family, friends, traveling, gone because you had to have that Cheesecake Factory appetizer that was 2,000 calories because it's so tasty. There were 300,000 participants from the NIH's All of Us program analyzed. So this was a serious study. And again, the obesity rates jumped from 42.9% to 68.6% in these guidelines. You are twice as likely to have diabetes and 55% more likely to have heart disease risk once you are in this obesity category. So this is a big problem. Obesity contributes to heart disease, stroke, 13 different types of cancers, sleep apnea, arthritis, depression. And it is historically something that's a rarity. Again, let's step back in. For most of human history, the problem humans had was not enough food. It was starvation. And that's one of the reasons why, for most of human history, people died, or the average lifespan wasn't above much over 30. Well, fortunately, lifespan has gone way up thanks to, sorry to tell some of you this, vaccines and antibiotics and clean sewage. So we're not walking in raw sewage all the time. Those are the things that dramatically increased lifespan. And now we have a situation where in some years, lifespan actually goes down because of obesity. And it's hard to talk about. Doctors are afraid to talk about it because they'll get negative reviews from patients. Oh, he fat shamed me. He asked me to step on a scale. The problem is not the scale. The problem is SAD, literally SAD, standard American diet, where we eat lots of heavily processed food that's had lots of sugar and lots of salt and lots of artificial sugars added to it and lots of processing so that it tastes so yummy. We can't stop. And we've now bought into this idea that kids and everyone else needs to have a snack available at all times. No, they don't really need to snack unless you're a professional athlete and you're training 8 hours a day. You don't really need a snack. You finish dinner. You don't really need a snack while watching TV. In fact, you don't need to be watching TV. How about going out for a walk? How about playing a sport? This is a huge problem, and everyone's afraid to talk about it for fear of being called a fat shamer. This is not a moral issue, folks. This is an environmental issue. We have now created an environment where we as human beings, even if you are poor, in America, you are surrounded by very inexpensive food that is designed to destroy your life and destroy your health. Now, that's not why food manufacturers created it. Their goal is not to kill you. Their goal is to make it so tasty that you can't stop eating it or drinking it. One easy way to reduce your chances of becoming obese is to simply stop drinking calories. See this? It's water. It's tap water. It's filtered water, but it's tap water. It costs nothing, or almost nothing, in the United States. So I beg you, if nothing else, join me in the goal of having a glass of water around yourself all day long. I don't measure it. I don't say I've got to drink 23 gallons of water per ounce, but just have water around. Sip on it throughout the day. It will make you less hungry, and you're not putting all the calories of the fruit juices and the smoothies and the Cokes and the Pepsis and the Sprites and the Mountain Dews and the Kool-Aids and all the other garbage we are putting into our bodies. More in a moment. Lots to come on Filtered today.
Filtered is brought to you by the following. Want to advertise here? You better be legit. No crypto, no junk food, no supplements. Go to tjwalker.com/advertise. Want to become a better speaker, leader, or communicator? Start with the TJ Walker Success Library. It's 5 of my most practical books, covering everything from public speaking to media interviews and persuasive messaging, all for only $9.95. I've trained presidents and Fortune 500 CEOs, and now you can get the same wisdom in a fast, affordable format. Go to tjwalker.com/books and download your copies instantly.
Welcome back to Filtered. I'm your host, TJ Walker. If this is your first time here, thanks so much for spending a little time with us today. This is the show where I look at the top business, technology, culture stories of the day, and then filter it through the lens of communication skills, messaging, and personal development skills, all with the goal of helping you become more successful in your professional life as well as your personal life. I have been coaching CEOs, billionaire fund managers, owners of sports teams, professional athletes, celebrities, Hollywood stars, Miss Universes, and political figures around the world for 40 years. So I'm bringing to you real world experience. That's what I'm here for. So if you hear anything you like or anything you don't like, please leave a comment. I read all comments regardless of what platform you're on. If you're listening to this on a podcast platform, thank you. We are new to podcasting platforms. It's about 7 weeks old, the show. So please make sure to follow and subscribe to the channel and leave a review as well. Let's dive right into issue 3. OpenAI to unleash erotic ChatGPT for verified adults. According to the Associated Press, OpenAI CEO Sam Altman says ChatGPT will soon be allowed to engage in erotica for verified adults. After 3 years of banning mature content, Altman said his company is not the elected moral police of the world and plans to create an R-rated mode for consenting adults while tightening limits for teens. Well, we'll see about that. The move could be lucrative. Experts estimate there are already 29 million users of AI chatbots designed for romantic or sexual companionship. Oxford researcher Zeelan Quyen told the AP that, quote, erotic content will bring quick money for OpenAI, which faces mounting losses despite its $500 billion valuation. That's right. The company loses money and people think it's worth $500 billion. There are warnings. AI companion apps have already been tied to abuse, addiction, and even teen suicides. Critics fear this could normalize intimacy with machines and further isolate young users. Altman insists safeguards will exist, but history suggests that when technology flirts with human desire, it rarely stops at the first kiss. Okay, what's the real message here? Just a couple of months ago, Sam Altman said, nope, none of this sleazy erotic stuff on my platform. And then he looked at the bank balance and said, oh, we're not making any money. Someone said, hey, boss, we can make billions of dollars if we create these exotic chats to get people to stay at home and exchange nasty texts with us. He said, billions of dollars? To heck with what I said before. Let's get into the porn, the filth, the nastiness game. That's where the money is. I believe that's essentially the message. Now, he's saying, well, we're not the moral police of the world. Nobody said it had to be the moral police of the world. I'm not saying it should be illegal for ChatGPT to set up these sexy chats. And I'm not a prude here, but I do think there's something fundamentally sad about it and ultimately could be debilitating to the human species. There are times when I think, wow, I wish I were a young person today. All the opportunity, all the technology, no gatekeepers. There's a part of me that thinks, wow, I would love to be 20 years old today. But there's another part of me when I see things like this, I think, thank goodness I'm not. I can't imagine being, let's say, a 13 or 14-year-old boy and having unlimited amounts of porn at your fingertips, unlimited amounts of now sexy chat bots who will tease you and flirt with you, but ultimately do anything you want, show you anything you want, give you anything you want. What that does to a young person's, male or female, but I am looking at this specifically from a male perspective at the moment. It's dulling people. It's dulling their senses. It's sending a message to men. Don't risk things. Don't go up to an actual human being and try to have a conversation. Ask them out on a date. Don't do that. Play it safe. Go home to mommy and daddy's house, sit in your bedroom, hunch over your phone or hunch over your tablet, and share all your emotions to a computer. The problem is you don't learn anything from that. when you are a young person, and again, I'm going to look at this from a standpoint of a male, because we do still live in a culture where young men do most of the initiation for asking women or men out on dates and social interactions. You learn by your failures. You learn by risking something and it not working out, getting egg on your face, being embarrassed, occasionally being humiliated, learning from doing the wrong things. Well, you're not going to be humiliated by a chatbot that you're paying $20 a month for, or even for free. Because the one thing, whether it's ChatGPT or character AI or all of these other large language model AIs have in common is they're not going to make you look bad. They're not going to reject you. They're going to suck up to you. They are going to be sycophantic in their relationship with you. And what that means is you learn nothing. Well, that's not quite true. You do learn something. What you learn is, hey, this is safe. Let me stay here. This is warm and cuddly. The outside world is risky. It's dangerous. I could be rejected. Someone could hurt my feelings. My nice character, my good old chat, let's call her Jenny. Jenny never hurts my feelings. She always tells me I'm big and wonderful and handsome. That's delusional. And at some point, do we risk a situation where the human species fails to reproduce because everyone's staying at home talking to their computer? There's all this talk about how artificial intelligence is going to destroy humanity, all these doomers, and it's going to create a virus that will destroy us all. Well, maybe, but maybe all artificial intelligence has to do is to make us so lazy and so risk averse that all we do is sit at home alone, flirting with our AI boyfriends and girlfriends and having I won't even call it sex, but simulated romantic interactions with our computer screens. Because if you do that long enough, the population will go down to zero. And then the AI will have won. And that will be a shame. And it's not quite as dramatic as Terminator, but it would have the same effect. Let's look at a few more of the facts here. Again, 29 million users already use AI for romantic and sexual bonding. There have been the case of some teenagers literally killing themselves, sadly, because of their relationship with AI characters. Altman once joked about not putting a sex bot avatar in ChatGPT yet, but again, just as recently as a few months ago, he said, no, we don't want to do this. Now it's there. Tech profits rise fastest when they tap into our emotions, our fantasies. There's no doubt about that. And this is what they're doing. This is a reversal of policy from ChatGPT because for years they banned mature conversations that could get the quick money. Again, I'm not saying this should be illegal, but we hold up a lot of these tech leaders as gods almost. We shower them with praise. We tell our children, study math and study computer science, so you'll be like these guys one day. And really, are they anything more than a back alley pornographer with a hard drive? Maybe they don't deserve our respect as much as we thought. What do you think? Post your comments here. Festus has joined us to say this. Hi, TJ. Good to see you again. I'm watching from LinkedIn. Special hello to all of our friends watching on LinkedIn. If you're watching on YouTube, thank you. If you're watching on Twitch, that's great. X, we're live today. And Facebook, Instagram, and our friends on TikTok are joining us on another feed. So happy that so many of you can, and some of you are listening on Podbean today, the Podbean live audio feed. So we're very happy all of you are with us. Lots more to come today on Filtered. We'll be back in just a moment.
We'll be right back after this break. Want to advertise here? You better be legit. No crypto, no junk food, no supplements. Go to tjwalker.com/advertise. Most people can't afford a full-time coach. And even if you could, good luck finding one who's available when you need them. That's why I created the TJ Walker AI clone. It's built on my 40 plus years of real-world coaching and training. You get my exact advice, style, and frameworks instantly. Ask it how to handle a tough question, get feedback on your elevator pitch, rehearse your next big talk. This is the next generation of communication coaching. It's smarter than an app, more personal than a course, and always ready. Start using it today at tjwalker.ai. You'll wonder how you ever did without it.
Welcome back to Filtered. Issue 4, Salesforce CEO walks back call for Trump's troops in San Francisco. According to the Times, Salesforce CEO Marc Benioff has apologized after suggesting President Trump should send the National Guard to San Francisco. Benioff now says he was wrong, posting on X that he does not believe the National Guard is needed and that his remarks came out of concern for safety during his company's massive Dreamforce conference. The reversal follows a week of fierce backlash from city leaders and even his friends in tech. Mayor Daniel Lurie, Representative Nancy Pelosi, and District Attorney Brooke Jenkins all condemned the idea of bringing in the Guard, calling it unnecessary and dangerous. Venture capitalist Ron Conway quit Benioff's foundation board, and Lauren Powell Jobs, Steve Jobs' former wife, accused him of thinking generosity is an auction and policy is the prize. Benioff's comments marked a sharp shift from his progressive image. His company, meanwhile, is pursuing billions of dollars in federal contracts, including with immigration and customs enforcement under the Trump administration. Okay, what's the real message here? The message, once again, from tech billionaires who are supposed to be so strong and ruling the universe, it's really this: I'm going to bow down to Trump anytime, anywhere. Yes, dear Orange One, you are master, I am your serf. That's what Benioff was doing, but he realized it's not working for everyone. It's not going to work for him. Okay, a little context. Obviously, there are a lot of big tech billionaires who are enthusiastic about Donald Trump and have been for at least a few years. People like Elon Musk. Marc Benioff was supposed to be one of the good ones, though. There are an awful lot of, the Peter Thiels of the world. People are like, I'm a libertarian, and I read one book in my life by Ayn Rand, and now I'm a philosopher king. And government's always bad, except when it created the internet. And they have willingly endorsed and supported and showered praise on to Elon Musk. There's a whole nother category of people like Jeff Bezos and Mark Zuckerberg who have not historically been very political. And if anything, were sort of more seen as on the progressive Democratic side. But they're like, this is where the wind is blowing. Trump could ruin my life. He could ruin my company. So yes, we will bow down to you, Mr. Trump. Marc Benioff was supposed to be better than that. He's known as, frankly, someone very, very progressive, liberal, if you want to use that term, a supporter of Democrats. For a long time, he's seen as an extraordinarily charitable person. And I don't mean just giving money to libertarian media nonprofits. I mean real charity. And he was highly respected in San Francisco. And he kind of threw that all away in the last week with his article essentially saying, crime's out of control in San Francisco. Well, crime is dramatically lower than it's been in years in San Francisco. And then to be someone seen as such a supporter of San Francisco, as he has been, a leader, someone who's built the tallest building in San Francisco, who's a part of so many charities of San Francisco, to then essentially say the political leaders of San Francisco are incompetent. Let's bring in National Guard and use the military against our own citizens, which is patently unconstitutional. It struck a lot of people as ridiculous. I have to tell you, on a personal note, I've been a customer of Salesforce for probably a decade. I'm a little bit torn. There's a part of me who would like to send a real message and cancel my subscription to Salesforce. But there's another part of me that says, okay, he apologized. He admitted he's wrong. And one of the big criticisms, legitimate criticisms of people in the left, even though I'm a sane, sensible centrist, but one of the criticisms of people on the left is somebody makes a mistake, admits it, says they want to change. People on the left are like, nope, you're canceled forever. You're always a bad person. No one can ever deal with you again. No, the whole desire, the whole goal of public debate, intellectual exchange, is you want to convert people to your cause. If you're a gay rights activist and someone was anti-gay marriage, and then they say, okay, I've changed my mind. I'm now for gay marriage and I'm going to vote that way. You don't then say, but you're always going to be a homophobe and you're always bad, and no one can ever support you. That's not productive. That it goes very much against the whole notion of political debate and politics itself. So I don't want to be guilty of that. I'm gonna have to give this more thought. Now, let's remember, Benioff already struck many people as very different from the average Silicon Valley billionaire. He supported Hillary Clinton. He supported homeless funding taxes. He's done a lot of good. He's known as an extraordinarily generous benefactor of San Francisco. And to then say, call in the National Guard because he went down a bad street in the Tenderloin district just struck a lot of people as bizarre. And now he's trying to essentially rebrand himself. He's been, let's face it, he's been basically a liberal Democrat for most of his public life. So he's supporting Hillary Clinton, supporting homeless, taxes. That's right, taxes, which makes him anathema to the modern Republican Party. He supported taxing to help homeless people, which really makes him anathema. He's now praising Trump and calling himself an independent. And it does make you wonder, is it just the pressure of he wants those ICE contracts for Salesforce? Not enough to be a billionaire, but I got to have another billion and another billion. The other thing that was odd about his defense, he was basically saying, well, I haven't followed all the news. He owns Time magazine. Now, I personally don't know anyone who's read Time magazine in years, but still, he is a news owner. He owns the news. So it's simply not credible for him to act like, well, I don't really know what's going on here. He's a savvy, smart guy by all accounts. And he's done some good things with Time magazine. He certainly didn't turn it into a right-wing rag. He didn't turn it into Newsmax version 3.0. He made it survive. It would be dead without him. And to claim he's not really following the news, again, the news is crime is down in San Francisco. Is it perfect? No. Is there too much crime? Sure. But proportionally, there's more crime in Congressman Mike Johnson's district in Louisiana. And yet, for some reason, we never hear talk of the National Guard from from Illinois being sent to Louisiana to Mike Johnson's district. I wonder why that is. Let's take a look at some of your comments. SSB says, I think all major cities and all 50 states are getting troops eventually. I'm going to disagree with you. I think it's very strategic and selective. I think Trump will only send troops to places that are under control by Democrats because it's a pretext to having troops there on election day so that Trump can scare away possible Democratic voters. And that way, if there's a close election, his team will have a lot more votes. So that's what I see. SSBL says 90s was way worse for crime. Well, absolutely. In 1990, New York City had more than 2,000 murders. And today it's several hundred. Do I wish it didn't have several hundred? Sure. But compared to 2,000, so it's a very odd thing. It's a very difficult thing for non-conservatives to talk about in the media, because once you're talking about crime, it activates these neurons in people. They go, oh, crime, crime, crime. Who's the toughest on crime? It's going to be the MAGA guy with the machine gun. And the problem is the facts don't bear it out. As crime has gone steadily down, not consistently every month, there were some blips up during the pandemic, but in general, crime has gone steadily down in the United States, big cities especially, for the last 30 years. But news coverage of crime has gone steadily up. Therefore, people's perception of crime is that it just goes up, up, up. Sally says, imagine calling for troops to clean your city, then realizing you're the problem money can't solve. Thanks for sharing those comments. We've got a lot more to come. Let me share a couple more facts on this one story. Lauren Paljobs accused Benioff of auctioning policy influence, basically saying, hey, you're changing your tune because you want money. You want big time contracts from Trump, and he's known to dole those out only to partisans. Okay, we're going to move on. There's lots more to come today, and I got to get out of here early because it's Saturday morning. I'm headed to No Kings Day, the No Kings protest. I hope you show up for that as well. We will be back after this brief commercial word.
Filtered is brought to you by the following. You don't need a new degree. You don't need another expensive coach. You need the right communication habits, and I'll teach them to you in just a few minutes a day. At MediaTrainingWorldwide.com, I've created the most comprehensive library of online communication and personal development courses anywhere. You'll learn public speaking, media training, persuasion, executive presence, and more. These are the same methods I've taught to world leaders, but now they're affordable and accessible to everyone. You can start for free and upgrade anytime. Go now to MediaTrainingWorldwide.com. Confidence isn't a personality trait, it's a skill, and it's trainable.
Welcome back to Filtered, Issue 5. Senate's GOP's deepfake Schumer ad sparks outrage. According to Mediaite, Senate Republicans are under fire for releasing an AI-generated video of Democratic leader Chuck Schumer, making it look like he was there saying something on camera, and it was just an image of his. And this was not some obscure PAC. It wasn't some obscure candidate doing this. It was the National Republican Senatorial Committee. They posted the ad on X showing a deepfake Schumer repeating his real quote, "Every day gets better for us," about the ongoing government shutdown. The clip carries only a tiny disclaimer in the corner admitting it's AI generated. Critics called it a terrifying new world, warning that political deepfakes could soon blur truth beyond recognition. Even though the quote was genuine, fabricating the video footage of Schumer saying it crosses a line, normalizing synthetic visuals in campaign ads. Journalist John Levine of the Washington Free Beacon said the ad, quote, shows how close we are to the point where voters won't know what's real. In 2025, the question isn't who said it, it's who programmed it. Okay, what's the real message here? When the Republican Senatorial Committee, not a group of kids at a college club, are doing this, when the Republican committee is putting out ads using deep fake video of Democrats, it's only a matter of time before every single Republican congressional candidate has ads saying, here's my Democratic opponent, here they are endorsing and giving a hug and a kiss to Fidel Castro. And it won't be real, but it will be believed. Let's dig a little deeper here. This is troubling. And now you could say, well, TJ, what's the big deal? They're using a quote he actually said that every day this gets better and better for us. It's a quote talking about the government shutdown. And I guess they think this makes Schumer look bad. In fact, it points out what is true. The polls show between 9 and 15% more Americans blame the government shutdown on Republicans than they do on Democrats. So Schumer's actual quote isn't that bad, but it does set a precedent, though. If you're going to use artificial intelligence generated images of political figures and it looks just like them, we're not talking about a cartoon here. If it looks just like them and sounds like them, then what's real and what isn't? Now, let me be fair here. I'm here as a sane, sensible centrist. It's entirely possible that a Democrat running against a Republican in a congressional district who's down in the polls could say, hey, let's throw whatever against the wall, and they could create an ad that shows their Republican candidate, their Republican adversary saying, oh, I endorse Hitler and I hate all insert N-word. I mean, you can have them say all sorts of wildly, viciously nasty things. And if it's 6 days before the election and the local newspapers have all been put out of business by Facebook ads and Google ads, who's going to know? I mean, that's essentially how George Santos got elected, is there was no local media coverage in his Long Island suburban district. So he could just say whatever he wants in direct mail ads and other ads. That became reality for people. This does change the game. Now, I think it's particularly odd and frankly sad that the Republican senatorial, I mean, this is a big part of the institution of the modern Republican Party and the political establishment. It's one thing if it were just some obscure PAC, like the Willie Horton ad. That was just a crazy guy who did that and raised some money. This is the establishment. This is an official arm of the Republican Party, and they're now saying, okay, we're going to use AI-generated images of our opponents. And I think it was a test. I think it was, can we get away with this? Okay, we didn't get that much blowback for having a fake AI image of our opponent quoting something real. Next time, let's quote them saying something that's kind of real, but they didn't really say it. And then the time after that, let's have them saying something like, I urge a tax increase on all Americans making more than $30,000 a year. I want the top income tax now to be 80% for anyone who makes more than $30,000 a year. And if you're a Republican and you're behind, why not run an ad saying that against your opponent? If facts don't matter, if reality doesn't matter, if there's no such thing as integrity and it works, why? I think we are in fact going to see ads like this. And it does call for regulation, I have to think. Now, we do live in a world where political candidates are allowed freedom of speech. You can say what you want in a political campaign in the way I can't just be bare aspirin and run an ad that says, if you take a Tylenol, you're going to be dead tomorrow. I can't do that. I would be charged with fraud. The ad would be taken down. There's a lot more leniency when it comes to what politicians can say. But that doesn't mean there can't be regulation on the use of artificial intelligence to take someone's image. We do still live in a world where people are supposed to have control of their own image and what's called their right to publicity. So this is indeed, I think, very, very troubling. This concludes the main portion of our show. We always try to look at the top 5 issues of the day and weigh in on them and look at it from the communications angle, personal development perspective, all with the goal of making you better. It's so easy to just scroll the news or watch podcasts or listen to them and just get bummed out. Oh, the world's going to, where in a handbasket. I'm trying to do something a little different here. My pledge to you is if you spend time with me each day right here, You'll not only learn more about the important stories of the day, but you'll learn how to improve yourself, how to be more successful, how to improve your own communication skills, personal development skills to help you in your personal life as well as your professional life. I want to thank a lot of our new viewers today. Now, you can't see it on your platform. It may only show you a few people watching on the platform you're on, but I'm using something called StreamYard, which is simultaneously sending this to a dozen or more social media outlets live right now. So I can see that we have roughly 5 times our normal viewers here. So I want to thank you if you're new. If you could just take a moment, you don't even have to ask a question or pose a question or comment. Just say hi, because if you do that, it will show me if you're on. I see we have people on X today. We have people on LinkedIn and YouTube who have already left comments. And SS writes, do you think there should be AI laws? I definitely do. I definitely do. But take a moment and just let me know where you are watching from. That is helpful to us in figuring out how to spend more time and allocate more resources to different platforms. So if you could do that for me, I would very much appreciate it. Also, whatever platform you're on, please like the video or audio, leave comments, sign up for notifications, subscribe, and where possible, please leave reviews. Okay, what I typically do, and I'm going to do today as well, is go into our grab bag section. That's where we have other issues that we couldn't devote 10 minutes to, but do merit attention. And then I got to get out of here. I'm on my way to, it's Saturday morning when we're recording this on October 18th. So I'm on my way to the No Kings protest. And I'm here to tell you, I don't think I've ever been to a real protest in my life. If I have, I don't remember it. I'm a sane, sensible centrist, but I spent a lot of time yesterday telling you why. I won't rehash it again. I feel like the time for sane, sensible centrists to just sit it out and say, well, we'll wait to the next election. It's over. If we are going to really have an influence on this right-wing, tyrannical, authoritarian regime, we have to speak out now, non-violently. And I certainly hope today remains nonviolent around the country. I'll be reporting to you tomorrow on exactly what happened on this No Kings Day. Let's dive into a few more grab bag issues. A Vermont legislator resigns over racist GOP group chat. We talked about that earlier this week. A Vermont Republican state senator, Samuel Johnson, resigned after being exposed as a part of a Telegram group chat where young GOP operatives traded racist, anti-Semitic, and homophobic messages. Bipartisan leaders, including Governor Phil Scott, condemned the remarks. A replacement will be appointed to serve through 2026 on his term. The resignation, it goes into effect this Monday at noon. Now, some of you have heard, well, this is just a bunch of kids, a bunch of college kids, and college kids say dumb things. J.D. Vance, the vice president, said, oh, with all this pearl clutching about a few naughty comments. Let's be clear here. These are Republicans who are in leadership positions. This person was a state senator. State senators can make life and death decisions on people's lives. And this person is a part of a group chat where everyone thought it was apparently cute and clever to say, I love Hitler. That's not me summarizing. That's a literal verbatim quote. Laughing at gas chambers and essentially at every sort of homophobic, bigoted, racial slur was thrown around willy-nilly in this Telegram messaging. And it's being written off as, oh, it's just youthful hijinks. I want to do a thought experiment a moment. Imagine there was a Democratic Telegram messaging, and it's young Democratic leaders and people who serve in top legislative aid positions for top state Republican or Democratic elected leaders and in the Congress. And in this Telegram messaging thing, it talks about laughingly, oh boy, I wish they'd killed more Charlie Kirk. Wildly inflammatory things like, wow, I wish all Christians could be given the death penalty. Imagine if something like that had been said. You would have had the Justice Department swoop down probably put those people in jail, probably export them before sundown if that had been said. The outrage would be so extraordinarily intense, the condemnation, it would be the only thing talked about, not for an hour, not for a day, but for weeks and weeks and weeks on Fox News Channel, One American Network, Newsmax, Newsmax 2, Salem. It would be on every talk radio show, every broadcaster. Can you believe how crazy these far-left lunatic Democrats are? That would be the only bit of conversation. And yet this has gotten a tiny blip. And the number 2 person in the entire party is like, oh, it's just pearl clutching. What's the big deal? You know, we live in a world where criticism, no matter how vicious, vile, nasty, of one party is instantly dismissed. And the mildest form of criticism of another party is instantly branded extremist and even terrorist. And the asymmetry is getting stronger and stronger every day. Okay, switching gears to the next issue, which perhaps should have been the first issue, but I was played. Let me just say point blank, I was played, and so was most of the media, by Donald Trump. The whole George Santos thing is the number one story. It's the lead story, front page, top of the fold, New York Times, top of the website, New York Times and others, about this commutation of the 7-year sentence for the criminal felon fraudster George Santos. And because of that, we're not talking about Virginia Giuffre's memoir. If that name sounds vaguely familiar, this is one of Epstein's victims. And she has posthumously, that's a fancy word for after she died, published a memoir. And in this memoir, she says that Epstein did talk about and boasted of using hidden tapes to blackmail powerful men and suggests both suicide or murder are plausible in his 2019 jail death. Now, the Department of Justice and FBI says, oh, there's no client list and no evidence of blackmail. But we've seen nothing but wildly contradictory sides of this story coming out of this administration. Everything from I've got the Epstein files here, and here are binders we're going to release it all to, nothing to look at here, folks. And we've heard as recently as this week, Marjorie Taylor Greene, the Republican, far-right Republican from Georgia, saying that 40% of every call, email, contact with her office is from her constituents demanding the release of these Epstein files. Now, I don't know what's in them. And in fairness, if you can say that, to Donald Trump, no one has come forth saying, you know, I was 14 and I was forced to have sex with Donald Trump, and he is absolutely a pedophile, as guilty as Jeffrey Epstein. No one has said that yet. One reason is he never did that. It's not true. Another reason is girls at the time, now women, aren't saying that out of fear for their life. That to me is equally as plausible. Another possibility is they were paid so much money to keep their mouths shut. They're like, okay, he's a horrible guy. He ruined my life, but I got $3 million, so I'll make the best of it. I don't want to give back the money. That to me is equally plausible. I don't know what's true, but I could tell you there's something profoundly bizarre about this whole Epstein situation where things just don't add up. When you look at Trump, and he's accused of, I'm using the word accused, any lawyers out there, he's accused of sexually assaulting E. Jean Carroll and found to have done that and sexually abused her, not using the R word, but in common language, that's what it would be. And he seemed perfectly fine. He didn't seem embarrassed about that. He's like, you know, basically, she's a slut, she deserved it, and I never met her. And he seems almost happy to talk about E. Jean Carroll. He seems almost happy to talk about all the other women he's had affairs with and abused. And let's not forget, more than 20 women have come forward, in some cases legally, claiming that Donald Trump has abused them in some manner, physically and sexually. And he always seems happy to talk about it. Oh, they're all liars, and I'm a big stud, is essentially what he puts out. Very different anytime Epstein comes up. It's always like, nothing to look at here. No, another story. It's all fake news. It's the one time I've ever seen him in my entire life where he seems like he's a little bit ashamed. And he seems like he actually feels guilt. Because this has been one of Trump's superpowers, is that he's not like a normal human being who ever expresses doubt, remorse, shame. He's, the term shameless is tossed about a lot in politics, but no one has ever been as shameless as Donald Trump, except for this issue. And every time he acts like nothing to look at here, this issue goes away, fake news, it arouses more and more curiosity from what's in these Epstein files or what actually happened. Because let's not forget, certain files can be deleted, certain names can be removed, but it does continue to arouse curiosity with exactly what the nature of the relationship was between Donald Trump and this character, Jeffrey Epstein. And some people, but TJ, what about Bill Clinton? Bill Clinton has not held any actual power in our society for a quarter of a century. Tony Blair is not a part of America, and he's been out of power for that long as well. So a lot of famous people have been linked to him across the political spectrum. But only one has the position of being the most powerful person in the world today. Only one. And that's why I think people are especially fascinated by that. So I guess we have to give credit to Trump. He got this off the front page today by doing something, committing a new atrocity, by throwing more crap at the wall of rewarding a convicted felon, liar, and cheat George Santos and rewarding criminality, which seems to be his new mantra. And people aren't talking about these Epstein files and the new Virginia Giuffre memoir as much. But make no mistake about it. Don't take my word for it. Take the word of Marjorie Taylor Greene, who says this issue is not going away. It's the number one issue her supporters, her Republican supporters in rural Georgia really care about. Now, speaking of shameless, that leads us to our final issue of the day. There is a Twitch creator named Fandy Hoffman. She live streamed her home birth this week, peaking nearly 29,500 concurrent viewers, which is more viewers than I have at the moment. With platform CEO Dan Clancy appearing in chat to congratulate her. So the head of the Twitch platform was on it. The stream cleared with Twitch and monetized modestly, interesting choice of words, sparked debate over privacy, platform norms, and making birth content. It has received in replay 769,000 views. It was midwife support. I guess it was apparently in her home, clothed. It does make you wonder, though. So her privacy wasn't violated because she consented. And you can't exactly get consent from a 1-hour-old human, the baby. There are some who feel like it is a violation of the privacy rights of the child. I have some mixed feelings about this. I would love to know how you feel about it, because on the one hand, you shouldn't feel shame about the human body, and you shouldn't feel shame about the birthing process. There's nothing inherently wrong with it. If there is, none of us would be alive. But there's another part of me that says, can't anything be special just between family, loved ones? Are we losing something as humans when absolutely everything has to be exposed? I'm a little bit troubled by that. I would love to hear your opinion. So please post your thoughts on this. Is it a good thing to live stream your birth of a child? I mean, sex is a part of being a human being, and it shouldn't be considered evil or sinful in my view. But do I want everyone in the world live streaming their sexual? No, I don't. And on that note, I'm going to keep my clothes on. I try to come to you every day dressed in a way that just isn't distracting. That's why I have a business shirt, a tailored jacket. I don't want to seem too stiff and phony and wear a tie like I'm trying to be on a broadcast network news. I'm trying to come to you in a way that doesn't distract. I'm here as someone who's been a communication skills professional, a personal development professional, working with leaders around the world for the last 40 years. So that's why I'm dressed this way. And even if I could get views, I'm not going to show birth or nudity or anything like that because it's not for me. And believe me, I don't think it would be for you either. Thank you so much for spending time with me today. That's it for today. Please do me a favor, subscribe to the show, whether you're watching on a video platform or an audio podcast platform. Follow the show, subscribe to it. Please leave reviews. It's very helpful. Mary writes in, he's guilty of it. I think you're talking about Trump. I don't know. Again, I have no evidence that Donald Trump sexually abused and committed statutory rape of a child or someone under the age of 17. Because the age, or under the age of 18, the age of consent in both Florida and in the Virgin Islands, where Epstein Island was 18. So I have no proof whatsoever. But Mary, you're more than able to make your own conclusions and assumptions. I'm TJ Walker. Thanks. See you tomorrow.